And gentlemen and others. Thank you guys and welcome. I would like to welcome you guys to RafiChowdhury.com. RafiChowdhury.com, as you might know, is a blog and it's a website, and most recently we are also creating video content that is going to be essentially interviewing and discussing with professionals from various domains, and we will be talking about essentially hacking pretty much every niche out there, whether it be how to become an astronaut, how to become a marketer, how to become an artist, painter, teacher, whatever it is. We will bring in professionals from different industries and different walks of life, and we will ask them for their advice, their tips, their hints on how they got to where they are today. What are the shortcuts? What are the potential roadblocks and things like that could come up, and how you can achieve exactly what they achieved. So with that being said, let's get started. Today I have a special guest with me, actually. Today we have Ebony Knight from Memphis, Tennessee. Ebony is a chef. She's been a professional chef now for numerous years, and she's very involved here in Memphis as well. And with that introduction, I'll go ahead and let Ebony give us a little bit more insights onto her background and who she is and what she does. What do you do, Ebony?
I'm a chef at the TPC Southwind off of Winchester and Hacks Cross.
Gotcha.
And I basically do salads, appetizers, desserts, pretty much anything that I'm asked to do. It's a really challenging field, but it's also a very fun field.
So how did you get started? How'd you know that you wanted to become a chef?
At first I didn't. At first I was into graphic arts, and my father did a summer camp, and the chef at the last minute couldn't finish working out throughout the season. So it was an abrupt change, and my father needed somebody to help the head chef take over at the other church building. And so I decided to help with that, and found out that my love for food just surpassed my love for graphics. And before I knew it, I was questioning whether or not I was in the right field. And I decided to do some more research on culinary arts. And the more I researched it, the more excited I became. So I just kind of knew that that's where I wanted to go.
That's awesome. What's the most delicious meal that you can make me that's not going to be like crazy in the calories?
Actually, I'm kind of on you when it comes to the steak, because I can make steak in several different ways.
Did you guys hear that? Ebony makes a killer steak. And if you guys haven't been following me on Facebook and stuff like that, that's all I've been eating these days, just freaking steak and Indian food. So Ebony is, can you make Indian food?
Yes, I can.
Ooh. You have a job lined up coming up soon. You might be actually
in your head turning over there.
I might be bringing you onto the team as a head chef. So, tell us a little bit more about the schooling and stuff like that's involved. Like, if I want to become a chef, let's say I just graduated high school. I know I want to become a chef. What would you say is the shortest, most efficient path that I can take to get to the point where I can get started with what I want to do? What would you recommend?
Now, a lot of people may necessarily disagree with that, but in my experience, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to school to be a chef. You can actually start working in restaurants, and you can do experience, and you can work your way from there. Actually, it is my firm belief that you need both experience and schooling. When I first decided that I wanted to be a chef, I actually went and worked at the FedEx Forum just to see if that's the type of work I want to do. That's the type of day I wanted to have each day. And
what did you do at the FedEx Forum?
At the FedEx Forum, I did like tons of prep work. Whatever they asked me to do, chopping, cooking, sautéing, frying. That's when I really actually got introduced into the world of culinary arts. We were making foods for 4- or 5-star restaurants that were on the second floor. And basically I made the sauces, any type of, anything small, like salads, small appetizers, sauces. I carved in sweets during the games. Pretty much whatever they asked me to do. And I realized that the more I did it, the more I wanted to be there. I think I was there more than I was at home, actually, and enjoyed it. I didn't even care. I was tired at the end of the day, but I loved it, and that's when I realized I wanted to do more. So I applied to culinary schools that were surrounding in my areas. There weren't really any in Memphis at the time. So I branched out at Mississippi, not very far, Columbus, Mississippi, maybe 2.5 hours from here. And I went to Mississippi University for Women. They had a great culinary program there. Lasted 4 years because I was able to get a degree along with my culinary arts degree. So I got a Bachelor of Science. But not everyone goes that way. Sometimes people get certifications, coupled with the experience that they get from working their way up several years into restaurants. I meet people now who have more experience working in restaurants than I do because they started young. And I may know the terminology, and I may know certain things as far as what I got from my schooling, but experience is also very important.
Gotcha.
So I say you really should have both.
Makes sense.
So it just all depends on which route that the person takes. But the wonderful thing about culinary arts is you're always learning. They're always developing new and efficient ways to make food. They're always discovering new flavors, new herbs, new spices, new seasonings. So it's a field.
Steaks, right?
Great ways to make steaks.
Yeah.
So you're never really truly at the top of your game, even though there are some wonderful head chefs out there, top chefs out there. But they can even tell you that it is always a learning field. And so I think I'll be learning stuff about culinary until the day I die. So there you go. So.
Fair enough. That's a good way to put it. So let me ask you. So, when you went, like, let's say after you finished college and stuff like that, you went to go apply for some sort of a job, I assume. Was the degree a required aspect? Did they actually require a degree, or could you just say I worked the last 4 or 5 years?
At some restaurants, they valued experience more than they valued schooling. Now, nowadays they tell you that you must have a degree, that it's so much better, especially when you want to do something in management. When you're working like as just major, just doing the things, even like as I do, like cutting things, prepping things, they don't necessarily, they're valuable, yes, but it's not necessarily a degree requirement. But if you wanted to manage a restaurant, if you wanted to become a head chef, a sous chef, they do require some sort of schooling or some sort of, or in that case, major experience. So either like a bachelor's in something, a master's in something, or if you've had like 15 to 20 years under your belt working in restaurants and working with people that the culinary world recognize, then you could bypass that. But usually there is some sort of, if you want to go higher up in upper management, a degree is required.
Gotcha. So a lot of people that are following the show or following a lot of the stuff that we do on Facebook and Twitter and stuff are really interested in being in business for yourselves, right? That's ultimately where it's at, is that how can you take your craft and your practice and whatever it is, the skill set that you do, and actually create something, a company or an organization, or even as a solopreneur, right? Just delivering your services to your clients without having to be part of another organization, right? So we're all about just people starting their own ideas, taking it off, and being able to successfully sustain themselves doing what they love best. That way they're not constrained within the boundaries of a different, another organization or a system that they may not necessarily agree with 100%, So with that being said, if, let's say, I graduate high school, I know I want to become a chef, it's what I'm passionate about, I know everything, I'm ready to go to college, but I know for sure that I want to do this for myself. What would you recommend to someone like that? What are some things that they need to be doing early on just to make sure that when they do step out into the field, that they're ready, they have their client base, that they can get their business off the ground without struggling too much up front?
Okay. The first thing I would say is culinary is a versatile, very creative field. You can pretty much go into business for yourself in pretty much any aspect of culinary arts. You can take it to, you can apply it. The thing that I would recommend is, first of all, figure out exactly where you want to go. Research your city. Research what they have a need for. Like, for instance, if they don't have healthy restaurants, that's a need. If they don't have really good dessert restaurants, bakeries. If the place that you want to work with doesn't sell a lot of seafood, if they don't, basically you find out exactly what the city is lacking and create a solution for it to fit that need. So that way you know that you would never really go out of business, because if you can survive the first 5 years, then you're golden. But usually businesses die within the first 5 years.
Gotcha.
So you got to find something that people are going to want and going to want all the time.
One all the time.
Right. Also research your city. Research the type of people that are there? Is it lower income families? Is it higher income families? Also decide whether or not you want to, like the audience that you wish to cater to. Mm-hmm. So let's say you want to cater to the rich housewife, but they're not very rich housewives in the area that you're moving, that you want to work in. That means you need to change where you want to work. Or let's say you say, I want to do a restaurant where I know that just the average person can come in and can afford, and you hit the city and it's basically the majority of people that are there that fits that, then you know that's exactly where you need to be.
Got it.
Also, research the licenses that are required. Research if they have classes that you need to take. Research if there are certain certifications that you have to have, because you never want to be surprised on the back end.
Right.
And also, there's a very important thing also that actually you've mentioned more than once on your show, which is basically don't go big the very first time you start. You know, kind of, if you know you're not going to make money in a certain area, then don't put up money. Kind of be smart with your money budget and start small and then build. I mean, you can always go big.
Taking a lean approach to it, right?
Right. You can always go from small to big.
Yeah.
Don't try to go big and then all of a sudden you get out there and you run out of money. That's the worst thing in the world.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of investments do you think it's needed for someone to go with, let's say like you're a chef, you know, you've got a skill set, you know what your market is, you know your customers are. Does a chef typically own their own restaurant, or do they usually do they have a domestic kitchen that they operate out of? Where do they make the food? How do they become sort of like I guess let's just call it a licensed chef? Like what does that look like?
It really depends on what you like to do, because right now the average kitchen isn't necessarily a restaurant. People do food trucks. I mean, that is a major thing right now. Sometimes people find a little small. Oh yeah, it's mobile, and you can do a kitchen inside of your food truck.
So those are individually owned. You're telling me?
Yeah, they can be individually owned. You can either build up, or you can rent, or and then you just put the equipment inside the food truck, and you can take it and it's mobile.
So you cook that yourself. The chef would pre-cook that from home, and then bring it out.
You can either pre-cook it from home, or you actually have your kitchen inside the food truck.
And you serve it
so it's like a mobile kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah,
I thought those things were like corporately sponsored, like franchises and all this kind of stuff.
Sometimes they're corporately sponsored, but sometimes what you can do is you can venture out on your own. And they're actually people who make food trucks, design them to your specifications.
Really?
What you want in them, what you don't want in them. They give you a price right off the bat. You can either go pick it up, or sometimes you can pay for the food truck to be delivered. Yeah.
How much does it cost to get a food truck? Do you know?
Well, it all depends on the size. If you're doing something really big, 10,000 or more is usually what people invest in. But if you want something like a small food truck to start small, like maybe like tacos or a soup or a small cafe, or a steak alone, and something
Come on, guys,
small,
who wouldn't want a food truck that serves steak, right?
It could be anywhere like maybe $2,000 to $5,000. It just all depends.
$2,000 to buy a food truck?
Mm-hmm. When you think about it, it's the equipment that goes into it, and you know also you have
Did
to.
You guys hear that? $2,000 I can buy myself a food truck?
Yeah, really small, depending on what you have in there.
What am I doing over here? Doing marketing. I have to be in the food business. That's awesome. Okay.
It all depends. Like if you're selling just one thing, why need a huge food truck?
Right.
You know, if you're doing just, you know, one little niche, why do that? So it just all depends on what exactly that you want. But yes, they have like little small cafes. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full-blown restaurant.
Gotcha.
Sometimes people just rent space just to cater and do what it is they need to do. They walk in, you may have like a small office here, a kitchen in the back that has a few ovens, your 3 compartment sinks, things that you need for rules and regulations, and that is all. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full-scale restaurant. Most catering, they have a catering hall, but it's not, if you notice, it's not really big.
Gotcha.
Especially in Memphis.
So all those little boys and girls that are watching that are still in school, so if you guys want to start getting into the food business, you start saving that money, that's allowance today. All you need, according to Ebony Knight, is only $2,000, right? So you start saving today, you know, save a couple $100 a month. Next thing you know, by the time you graduate, you've got your $2,000 that you can put towards your first venture, which would be something like a food truck, right? Well, let's just say you couldn't do that. Right, very small, like a box. Okay, let's say you couldn't do that.
Okay.
You don't have $2,000, but you still want to start your own business in the food industry. What do you need to do? Go out to your family members, start offering them some pizzas, or like what would you do?
Well, I guess you just kind of start small. Like for instance, I wanted to be a personal chef. I wanted to cook for people. The one thing about a personal chef is you don't have to have a restaurant. You don't have to have a catering hall until you start catering out to bigger businesses and making a mass amount of food. See, it all depends on necessarily what you want to do. Now, if you just want to be a personal chef where you have a few clients and you come and cook for them a few times a week, you leave your delicious food in their house, that's great. What a personal chef really does is they go to the home of their clients.
Gotcha.
They cook for them. They store their food into containers. They clean up. They put their containers in the refrigerator with heating instructions, and there you go. Private chefs, they pretty much either live with their clients or live close because that is the one family that they're cooking for that they can get access to 24 hours a day.
Gotcha.
But if I decided I wanted to cook for a whole bunch of people, for an office, for huge parties, that would require me to do catering because that means I have to cook for several people at one time, which means I can't be in all those places at once.
Right.
So what my intentions are and what my goals are, they've changed now from personal chef to caterer, which means now it requires licensing, it requires getting a catering hall, it requires all those things.
I see.
So it pretty much all depends on what you want to do. And then there are home-based businesses where you have to go and you have to make sure that your home is according to regulations and you've got a license for that. You also have to, but you know about that, don't you?
I do know about that. What Ebony's referring to, actually, some of you guys may have seen my other parody video where I kept saying chocolate chess pieces. I did. I actually ran a small mini food type of business. I was raising some funds for a ed tech startup at one time, and I was like, man, I love chess and I love chocolate. How can I put the two things together? So I put together a chocolate chess pieces type of business where it was literally like chess pieces made out of chocolate that I made. And so what I would do is I got these molds from eBay, right? Mm-hmm. And I would go to like a little, what's that chocolate shop? Mary Carter's, I think.
Yes, Mary Carter's.
I would go to Mary Carter's and I would get these little pebbles, pebble chocolate. So then you melt the chocolate and then you put that in into the molds, and then you basically just have 2 trays of molds, and I would just put it in the refrigerator. And I used to invite all of my college friends over the whole night making these chocolate chess pieces. And so what happens is you put them in the refrigerator and you take them out. You take some hot chocolate and you glue the 2 pieces together, and boom! Next thing you know, you've got yourself a chocolate chess piece. But anyway, long story short, so when I wanted to sell those in packages and I wanted to actually sell in restaurants and things like that, I realized, okay, this is becoming a little bit of a bigger venture than just me making a couple at home and selling to my friends. So I looked into it, and yes, guys, it's actually not that hard. You just need, if the rules are still the same, in Tennessee at least, you need to become a licensed food manufacturer. So I actually just took a class at through UT Extension online course. It took me like a couple hours to finish the entire course, literally. So that gives you the license to become a licensed food manufacturer. Now you're legal, you can make food. And then for the actual venue where you would make this food, I had to get a certification called Domestic Kitchen License. So my kitchen had to be certified. A food inspector came in, looked at my kitchen. Like, you can't have pets and all this kind of stuff in your house. So there's a lot of regulations, things like that, but you can get your kitchen to be a licensed domestic kitchen. And if you do that, if you go through this couple of those certifications, you can actually manufacture food, you can sell food, you can package your food. There's proper regulations for packaging as well. And you can actually sell your food to restaurants and stuff like that. I had my food, my chocolate chess pieces in 3 or 4 restaurants, including the Carrot House Village. They used to carry it too. So yeah, that's just a little...
Very innovative.
Yeah, it was a scrappy startup, but hey, I'm just... Within 6 months, all this happened, right? I sold, I think, like $10,000 worth of chocolate in that 6 months. Not a huge thing, but just showing how lean you can be about it. If you want to get something off the ground, just boom, 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 just go for it. Start making the sales, really, right? It's like the main thing.
Right, you can always build later, but start in what you know that you can afford, and go from there.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about money now. Now we talked a little bit about the passion and all this kind of stuff. How much can one expect as a full-time chef? What kind of salaries does the average chef make? You can give me some range, maybe, like starting out, experts that are cooking at, I don't know, the White House.
I mean, the ranges are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because of different cities, they have different salaries, but I know, on average, an entry level could do anywhere from $8 to $9 an hour. Work up to higher positions, 14, 15 an hour. But when you start doing the head chef and doing the, sous chefs, head chefs, their salary, and it goes up from there. And then, of course, when you're Gordon Ramsay and all of a sudden, you're making millions because you know how to market yourself very well. Everyone's, I think, dream is to be a Gordon Ramsay of whatever niche that they tend to do.
I see.
But the salary varies. I'm not necessarily an expert on the salary.
That component. I gotcha. Well, obviously, you're making enough for you to be able to do it full time, so it can be done.
Yeah, I enjoy it very much.
So, let's just say, where was I going with that question, actually? So you're saying the starting salaries could vary depending on, location, how they market. Okay,
Yes.
Actually, I know exactly what I was going to ask you. What do you think is the importance, as a chef, as a personal chef, or you're in business for yourself, what is the importance of social media, TV advertising, radio advertising, different forms of advertisement? How do you get the word across? What works?
I mean, it's very important. And things have changed. Like,
it's a mosquito right there.
back then, I mean, you could do a few things on the internet. They used to do the posters. They used to do the videos through TV. But now, with the electronics and the technology, there's so many different ways that you can get it across. Definitely social media, because everyone nowadays checks their Instagram, their Twitter, their Facebook.
Yeah.
And you've got companies who even have it on there.
Yeah.
I mean, big, hospitals like Baptist have a Facebook. Baptist Hospice has a Facebook.
Right.
I mean, the place where I work has a Facebook. I mean, so it's definitely important to get your word out there.
Right.
I mean, yes, you can do the traditional, the radios, the billboards, the television commercials, but I think right now the social media is probably one of the most powerful tools you can use.
Right, you guys heard that, right? You hit me up when you need help with that. So it's funny you mentioned that. I actually used to work with a lot of the sports nutrition brands of Glanbia, like Isopure, Optimum Nutrition, BSN, and through that we actually were looking at some Instagram strategies for Isopure, my client at the time. And are you familiar with the Reynolds Kitchen? Have you heard of that? Their Instagram.
am.
Have you seen that? It's so freaking cool. I'm gonna post a link maybe on the video later. But Reynolds Kitchen does such an amazing job. They basically have this table. It's individual pictures, and it looks like the table is just ongoing. There's dishes after dishes, even though they're individual pictures, and the pictures are like it together. Then the feed looks like all these dishes are actually on the same table, even though they're I guess they've been taken.
Yes.
Random places, random times, maybe even something like that. So something like that might be really interesting for someone that's starting to do a food business.
Exactly.
Pictures on Instagram, right?
Yes, most definitely so. I mean, that's one of the greatest ways you can market yourself. You set your own Facebook up. I mean, yes, you can do other websites as well. But even if you have a Facebook of just the business that you're doing, so they can see the pictures and see firsthand what everything looks like. Because, I mean, the majority of the time, the largest percentage, you see with your eyes first. So it's like they look at it and be like, "Ooh, I want that," or "I want something similar like that," and that really grabs them. So yes, definitely, social media is very important.
Sweet. Any other tidbits? Any books? Anything like that you guys would say? Like someone who wants to get into the business, right? What are some valuable nuggets that they need to tap into? Do they need to contact you or some other mentors? Which books do they need to read? What are some websites where they can learn more?
Oh man, there's websites everywhere that you can read. I know on baking and on cooking were the actual books on cooking, on baking were like my Bible through culinary school.
What about Nerdy Nummies on YouTube? Have you guys heard?
Yes, I have. And
they made chocolate chess cakes one time. I watched that video. I was like, man, I wish I could have done that.
I mean, they've got so many. Pinterest is also one of my best friends too. I mean, because everyone's always putting something up there.
Yummy.
And it's just, even now when you go to the libraries, the sections have quadrupled since when they first started. Doing anything from gluten-free to vegan eating. Trust me, you will never run out of knowledge when it comes to cooking or any type of niche that you would like. You'd be surprised how much information is out there.
Yeah, actually, when I was working with Isopure, I actually worked with this guy. His name is Joe Duff. and he calls himself Joe the Diet Chef. And literally, like, iSuperior would hire him on as a contractor, and he would make these little, it was really cool videos of him like making protein pancakes or protein this or that, and he makes quite a big buck. I can tell you, like, iSuperior was paying him quite well for these kind of videos. So you can always find yourself a particular niche, a particular demographic, a particular type of people, and start creating content or food items for that population and get that message across on social, right?
And and be innovative and don't be afraid to try things. I mean, because there's always someone out there that's going to be willing to try it, especially if you make it look fantastic. And
so
there's always
matters a lot.
Yes, presentation is key.
I see. So what about a chef? Does a chef have to be necessarily a localized person, or can you actually market to someone like that's not in the same state as yourself?
You can market to someone that's not in the same state. I mean, I have people who also have online businesses where they can ship their food or ship whatever it is that they need out. There's also traveling chefs where they may take contracts out, like 6 months at this place, a year at this place. You don't necessarily have to stay in your own backyard. You can always venture out. That's the beautiful part about being a chef.
Gotcha. So the final question I have for you is, what is your favorite food item and dish?
Oh my goodness. Do I have to choose just one?
Just one.
Oh.
I know you've made millions of things, but just one. Please say steak.
Actually, my favorite meat is steak. I'm not.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It is. It really is, actually.
I lucked out. Okay, nice.
I mean,
what type?
I like the ribeye. Either the ribeye or the New York strip.
Feel you. You know that I don't know what is the exact name of it. I guess maybe it's called like lemon pepper steak. Like a steak that's like really juicy, rare, and it has like a lemon taste to it. What is that called? You know? Have you ever heard? I had it at like Golden Corral. I'm not sure like what. It's probably not the most classiest place to get this kind of steak, but it was so delicious. Like I love
pepper
this
steak. I don't know what type of steak they might use for that. Was it like small or?
Well, it was the pieces were like maybe. Well, it was a big piece. They would cut you a smaller piece. I know that it was very juicy, very tender meat, and it tasted like lemons.
They could have seasoned like it, like they do like a lemon pepper seasoning that they could put on top of it.
Is that what it was?
And sear it. Yeah.
I'm gonna. After this video, let's talk. Maybe you can help me make something like that actually coming up.
Okay.
Cool, Ebony. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure learning from you about the chef industry, the food industry, and culinary school, and all this kind of good stuff. If people want to find you on the internet or reach out to you, what is the best way we can get in touch with you?
Well, I know I could do Facebook. It's Ebony Knight. That's decided to keep it simple. That's actually my name, Ebony Knight, and you can find me on Facebook. And just hit me up, and we could communicate better and exchange numbers and things like that.
You heard that, guys. If you want that steak, you hit her up, or anything else for that matter, right? Can you also do like diet water and stuff? Krabby Patty, maybe.
A Krabby Patty. Okay. I don't know. I have to go get the recipe for that.
Thank you again, Ebony, for joining us. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and we'll see you in the next show.